Hello guys and welcome back. So now in this video we will sync our player through the network, alright? And what I mean by that is when we start our game, alright, we want to spawn our player over the network, alright? So for now, as you know that this start and select map button doesn't work. Alright, this is just the UI. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just disable this lobby screen and also the lobby player, and I'm gonna enable back the camera manager and player. So let me enable that. Alright, if you click on the player body, here it is. First of all, drag and drop the camera manager inside the player. Okay, then to this player we need to add some components. So the first component should be the Photon view component. Alright, you can search for Photon view and add it. Then after that, since we are using rigid body, so for that we need another component which is the Photon rigid body view component. Alright, and in this one enable this teleport for large distance, and you can uncheck this synchronize velocity. And after this we also need to add the Photon transform view, so that when we move the player, then the other player should be able to see where the player is moving. All right, so make sure that you add Photon transform view. In this, let's enable the scale as well. Once you do this, then we need to make a prefab of our player, but we will not be making a prefab of our player in any folder. In order to synchronize the player or any object you want to sync over the network, for that we need to create a separate folder. Alright, so in the assets, which is the main folder, in this make a folder by the same name, which is resources. Okay, make sure that you spell this correctly. Then open this up, and in this drag and drop the player. Alright, and when you drag and drop the player, then we don't need the player in this scene, because we will now be spawning the player when we connect it to a server and then a lobby and then a room. Alright, so let's create some spawn points in our environment. Right, let's create our first spawn point right at this place. Let me create a 3D cube right here. Okay, here it is. From this 3D cube, let's delete the mesh renderer and the cube mesh as well. Just leave the box collider, but actually we can remove the box collider as well. Alright, I just needed this. We need to make sure to move it up. Alright, name this as spawn points. And the spawn points, duplicate it, drag and drop it inside the spawn points, name this as 1. So this will be our first spawn point. Let's color it as well. Then you can duplicate it, name it 2, and move the second spawn point, for example, right there. Right, and then the third one to this position. Name it as 3. Alright, so we have 3 spawn points. Now you can open up the room manager script again. So right here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna first of all right here remove this. We are connected to a lobby, and remove this other in which we say that we are in a room. Alright, right down below we're gonna create another method in which we're gonna say public override void on joined room. Now in this one we will first of all say base dot on joined room. Alright, when we join a room, then we want to debug a message that we are in a room. All right. And then when we are in a room, then after that we want to spawn our player. So let's spawn our player now. For that, at the top we need a reference to our prefab of the player. Game object, let's name this as player. Then we need a reference to our spawn points. So public transform, make it an array, name this as spawn points. All right. Now we can scroll down, and right here we can create another method by the name of spawn player, in which first of all we will create a transform by the name of spawn point. Alright, as you know that we have more than one spawn points, so from all of them we need to select one of them, and then on that spawn point we want to spawn our player. So from the spawn points we will take a random, so random dot range. The range will be from 0 to the spawn points length. Alright, after this we will create a game object by the name of underscore player, which will be equals to Photon network dot instantiate. We want to instantiate the player on the spawn point dot position, and we want the player rotation to be similar to our spawn point, so we will say quaternion dot identity. Okay, then right here create another method by the name of start game, in which we're gonna call this spawn player method. Then right here call the start game method. That is it. Okay, save the script, get back right here. We need to provide the spawn points, so drag and drop each of the spawn point in there, and for the player we need to drag and drop the player from the resources folder. Alright, so once you do all of that, you can then click on console and start the game, and you will notice when the game starts it will show connecting, then connected to a server. We are connected to a lobby, we are in a room, and if you notice the player is being spawned in the game. If you notice it right here, on which spawn point? Okay, on second spawn point, as you can see the player is spawned. Okay, but if you click on game view there is still this camera active, so let me just close the game. And if you open up room manager, in the room manager, as you know that I've disabled the lobby screen. Actually you need to disable the room camera like that. Okay, and you can leave the room manager as active because on this we are managing all of our server stuff. So you can once again start the game again. Alright, when we are connected and then when we are in a room, if you see the console right here, when we are in a room which we name it as test, as you can see, then our player spawns in the game. Alright, so now we are syncing the player over the network. We are respawning the player, or you can say spawning the player. If you notice, right, the player can walk around, the player can jump, the player can crouch, and the player can switch between rifles, as you can see. Okay, so now let's test it on two devices. Okay, if you click on file, then click on build settings, Make sure that right here your sample scene is added, and if it is not, then just make sure to drag and drop it wherever your game scene is. Then you can select your own platform from here. For example, for now we are testing it on Windows, Mac or Linux. I mean Windows, so we can, and the first one is automatically selected. But when we will be testing this on Android, then we will change it to Android or iOS. Alright, for now it is on Windows, so now let's build our game. Alright, so in the multiplayer online game folder, create a new folder by the name of game PC. Alright, select that folder, and now let's wait for it. In few minutes our game will be built, and then we will be able to test our game on multiple devices, or you can say we will be able to spawn multiple players in a single room. So let's wait for it. Okay, so it is built. Now we can either click on this build and run, or you can, if you are using Windows, you can press the Control and B button in order to run this game. Alright, when you press it, now as you can see, it is building player. Now in a moment it will be running. Alright, you need to click allow right here. Okay, so our game is in full window. If you notice it, alright, it is showing on full screen. We actually don't want it on full screen, so let me just close this. And we want that when we run our game, for now we want it in a windowed screen. Alright, so you can click on player in project settings, and from here you can change it from full screen window to windowed. Alright, and then you can set the screen width and height, but I'm gonna just leave this as it is. Alright, once you do that, then you can build and run, or you can press the Control B button in order to run it again. Alright, so as you can see now it is running. You will notice that when it starts, here is our player. Alright, if we run the game from our Unity, alright, let me run it from here. Okay, now as you can see it is run from here, but if you notice the camera and the character movement, alright, if you check it from here, as you can see, when we control our player from one device, it is controlled from the other one as well. Okay, as you can see, and they share the same camera as well. So actually we don't want that. We only want to control our player, not the other player. As you can see, for now we can control both of the players. Alright, so in the next video we're gonna fix this issue with this. But now as you know that we have two players, as you can see, spawned in our game, and it works. Alright, so with this done, I'm gonna see you guys in the next one.